meeting to order, please, if you will stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated. Okay. So, to start us off, I'd just like to remind us all this is a public work session. We have this set up as a fishbowl. If you guys want to scoot your chairs up, you can. Um, it's the purpose of tonight's meeting is just to discuss things. We won't be making any decisions at all, but seldom does the board have a chance to talk all of us together. And so to follow open door policy and all of that, and to allow the public to weigh in, we decided at this point in time it might be really good to have a public work session so that we can talk about things that there may be decisions that come out of this meeting, but that's way down the road. We have not made any decisions about redistricting or anything at this time. We're just exploring things and trying to get things figured out. As y'all know, our job as a board is to be accountable to our taxpayers, at the same time making sure that our students are getting what they need and that their needs, their learning needs come first. So it's a big pie to slice sometimes, but our goal as a board is always the students and what's best for them. Okay, that said, we do have a lot of things to discuss this evening, so we'll just bring up a topic and see how it goes. Dr. Smith has information to share with us. You know, he talked as part of his proposal, was it 2 weeks ago when we had a public work session, he talked about two academies, one a hybrid academy and a virtual academy. And so Dr. Smith, if you will share that, your information, or just give us some more information about that, that'd be great.
I can do that. What I want to do is go back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everybody okay? Okay.
Well.
What I want to do is just go a little bit over some of the why behind why I made that proposal at the last work session, and then kind of go into some of the details of what those virtual academies will look like. And so if you let me share my screen, just give me one moment here. Apologize. You can see this. I see that okay? Sorry about that.
It's a little small.
Yeah, if there's any way to make it bigger.
There's a lot of, we can minimize worry and some good stuff on the screen. Yeah.
Better? I don't know what it looks like on your end. I know what it looks like on my end.
For now.
Audio is cutting out quite bad right now.
What you were on, that there's a tab.
Let me try something here.
Only show what the presenters are saying. Try that, and then if that doesn't work, you can do the. That's a little. That's better. That's good. Good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. The audio was cutting out pretty bad there. So is this showing really small on your end? Um, on my end, it's filling the entire screen.
It's
So,
good. It's good.
It's good.
okay,
Anybody that wants to.
so so basically what this was showing is um, since 2022 school year till now, um, students have obviously choices now. And so what we're seeing is with a net transfer school year to plus 53 students, we're now down just to plus one in that net transfer. Our retention rate, that means students that are in our district, live in our district, is retention rates now has gone from 84 to 79% and has gone down every year. Not majorly significant percentage wise, but every year going down is something that's concerning. And one of the big reasons why is because of the charters and the virtual school options that we currently don't have. And that has gone up from 17 in 20 to the 22-23 school year up to 31 in the last school year. And so what this is showing in the chart that you can see there is that decline in our net transfers, right? And but you see the increase in the virtual charter students who have chosen to go that route.
Dr.
And
Smith,
so,
Dr. Smith, can you
yes,
explain the net transfer thing? You cut out during that time, and I'm not sure I
oh,
understand what
sorry.
that means. That's okay.
Yeah, the net transfers basically means you take all the students that we're gaining from all the different sources, other schools, and those types of things as well, who take the option to transfer to our school instead of going to their home school, and also take into consideration the virtual options as well that are out there that students have. And so we in the 22-23 school year had a net gain of 53 students, and in this last year at the last tally mark we were only plus one. So that means we were attracting as many students as we were losing, basically. So we gain students, we lose students through the transfer. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So our incoming transfers have remained flat. So we, in those respective school years, we had 218 in 2022-23 school year, and then 215 the next year. Then we had an increase of 222 the school year before last, and then 218 last school year. So the decline is that's remaining very steady. The decline is actually in outbound students. And so we're not failing to recruit students to come in at all. We're maintaining that. We're just failing to retain some students who were here before and have chosen other options. Outbound transfers have risen every year from 163 to 207. And basically, if we continue this trend, then we will be on the negative of the net transfer, which is what I'm trying to avoid with these options. Basically, every virtual exit left because leaving was the only way to go to a virtual school because we didn't have that option. So that's what I want to be able to provide is these other flexible options for families so that they can remain South Putnam students and South Putnam families and have all the benefits of South Putnam and also have a diploma from South Putnam. So this is why we're doing that, because that just seems the trend. Some families are seeking more flexible options for their students based on lots of different reasons that families have. And so that's what these are about. One thing about these withdrawals, they do not capture homeschool because the Indiana Department of Education doesn't transfer that or doesn't capture that data in the data that they provide. So that is another opportunity that's not reflected in here. And we know there are many homeschool families in the South Putnam district that I think if we can provide these options, we may get some of those back as well. Next slide. This tells a little bit bigger picture of what's going on in Putnam County. So in all of this, we're not alone, but we're next. And so what you see here are the net transfers for the spring of 25-26 school year, which we just wrapped up. You see are the districts that are surrounding us. And you see that Mill Creek is plus 55. When you dig into their numbers, a lot of their influx, that net transfer of 55 students, is mainly Plainfield and Danville students. You can dig into the data, you can see that. We're again just barely breaking even there at plus 1 students. And then you'll see that our neighbors to the north and to the west, as Clay Community has a net negative 34 students. Green High still has a negative 182 students in the net transfers, and North Putnam has a negative 226 in net transfer students for the most recent data from the DOE. And again, these numbers don't reflect homeschool students, but you can see that we do have an opportunity here that if we can provide these flexible options for families, that we may be able to increase our numbers and keep that number from going to the negative and maybe increase that number as we move
Can
forward.
you pause just a second? Just hold right there. I just want to read something.
Wait,
Right
Sorry.
there. Just
Yeah.
hold right there. Hold right there.
the Cloverdale.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention that. And
Read
Cloverdale's
the
an
fine print.
outlier in this. It's an outlier because they have a statewide virtual school. It's a host arrangement with a company that provides online virtual school, and they have an arrangement with them. So they are utilizing Cloverdale's fame and school to run all of those students through. So that's not reflected in this because it's just a complete outlier because it's a statewide virtual school.
All right, thank you.
Moving on. So two academies, and there are two possibilities to recapture students. The one is the South Putnam Virtual Academy. And like I said, there's 31 virtual students who have transferred to a virtual option. And this is the breakdown of what that looks like. We have 19 students to Indiana Ag and Tech. We have 10 students to Indiana Connections Academy. We have 2 students to the Hoosier College and Career Virtual School. And then the South Putnam Flex Academy, there's a lot of different names are floating around on that. But on the Flex Academy, we currently have 51 students going to Greencastle. We currently have 38 students going to Cloverdale, 27 students going to Mill Creek, and 25 students going to Clay, among some other schools as well. But again, it's an option to capture those students and bring them back into the South Putnam family as a hybrid model. As we talked about, that would be where students do come to school, but it allows for some flexibility in their scheduling and their programming. And both of these options, the South Putnam Virtual Academy and the South Putnam Flex Academy, also give options for participation in athletics as well, as long as that we meet the Indiana IHSAA guidelines for those students. So both these options will allow them access to that as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for our South Putnam families to look at South Putnam and allow them to have some flexible scheduling and some flexible options for their education. So basically with this, we're just going to be asking here at the upcoming board meeting to approve, to green light both the academies. As I said before, we already have the staff to run them. We already have the equipment to run them. Don't need to do any construction for that. So we can get that launched for marketed and launched for August. So we'll just confirm that fall 26 target and then get our staffing all in place, which is already there, just to get them all trained up, ready to go. And then we'll start that marketing here at the end of June and into July. July will be all staffed up. And then in August 2026, we would rock and roll.
And just to be clear, that this proposal would not necessarily require anyone moving to or from any elementary school or high school or anything like this, not contingent upon any major movement of students or staff. Maybe some teachers floating around, but it wouldn't require us to move students to do this.
That is correct. Yes, it would. This is a 6-12 initiative at this point. I am also investigating options for K-5, but this is a 6-12 option for the South Putnam Flex Academy and Virtual Academy.
Just want to make sure as we're talking about these issues or opportunities that we are properly categorizing them in buckets and not mixing them and not saying that we have to do this before we can do that and those sorts of things. I want to be very clear about that.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, this is an independent from everything else.
Okay, so when you say it doesn't require any other teachers, is that like um, well, I mean, I understand it for the flex because they would just actually come into a classroom that the teacher is already.
Mhm.
So how would the virtual work? Kind of the same way?
They'll be, they'll be using virtual instruction as well. They'd be using a very similar virtual instruction models, and then so that we would have a licensed teacher in the classroom to be able to help facilitate those things. But most of it will be virtual instruction from the curriculum that we have.
Okay, so but okay, so explain to me then, if it's virtual instruction in a regular classroom, then that student is at a computer getting different virtual instruction than the teacher in the room is doing? I
No, that
understand.
what I mean, this would be housed separately from a regular classroom. So this would be its own space, and so there would be a licensed teacher in there overseeing that the students or the instruction would be by the virtual would be handled by the virtual curriculum.
Okay, so
Uh,
what would that classroom look like?
So you would have students who would be coming in there, and they would have their devices. But for the times that they're taking the virtual instruction, this is for the Flex Academy.
Right.
So they would come into the classroom, and they would have an assigned space they would go to, and they would do their virtual instruction while they were there. And then they would also have options to access some of the other coursework in the school as well. So they have, it's like a hybrid model where they will be taking some of their courses in that virtual space overseen by the assigned teacher in there, which would be the same person all day long. They'll be running the program, but basically the same person who runs our options program now, our alternative ed type program. And then um, and then if they need to access another class, they would go just like any other student goes to one of those other courses, and they would come back and then continue their virtual instruction after that particular class was over. So it's just a hybrid approach where they can come in, do some virtual instruction on some courses to give them the flexibility that they need, and then they also would be able to go and access like our ag sciences, or they could access weights, they could access band, they could access a lot of the other options that they don't get in a traditional virtual instruction model.
Okay, so for instance, if somebody wants to take French and we don't offer French during one period of the flex model, they would go into the virtual classroom and have virtual instruction on French or whatever. Is that what is
That would
that?
be that would definitely could be for them to do that during the
Okay.
day, yes. But the virtual school too would give them options to do it outside of the day as well. So again, it would be based on what would be best for that student.
And then that would also, they would be connected with the counseling department here to make sure that they had those the classes
Absolutely,
that they were taking.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd be monitoring their credits and their progress, all of those types of things, and that facilitating teacher would be doing that along with the counseling department for sure.
Cell phone policy with those kids has to be maintained.
Can you please repeat? I didn't hear.
The cell phone policy, if you have kids on flex, they're virtual, or do you still enforce that?
You would have to. We would have to. But they would have a device. It would not necessarily, they don't have to have their phone to do virtual learning. They would have,
Correct. Yeah, they don't have to have their phone. No.
so
And then
that would
in person, they can't have their phone in person.
right.
They can't. Now they have to
Like
follow
there's
by
a
the same
choice.
guidelines as everyone else for sure. In that high while they were on school property during school.
Okay. So what's the difference between the flex model and the virtual model?
So the flex model is they're coming to school. They're actually they're coming. We provide transportation just like we do at the school. They would be considered a in-person student. They're just with flexible options throughout their day.
Okay. And then the virtual would,
And virtual is all virtual. They would be doing that at home, and that they would and they too could have access to some programming as well. But that wouldn't be where we would provide the transportation to and from.
similarly to what we have some students doing now.
You're exactly right. Yeah,
Okay.
it would just be our academy, our virtual academy. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have any staff that going to speak or anything? They may sign up to speak
Yeah, I have two people that signed up to
on what
speak, but
subject?
I'm just, well, yes, yeah. Um, virtual classes. So, Mr. Cash, Steve Cash, would you like to join us?
Try.
But and it doesn't matter.
It's been good, but
It doesn't matter if it, well, I mean, right now we're talking about the virtual thing. So if you could talk to that, if that,
I'll just speak on that right now.
but if you have to talk about everything, that's fine too. But you can have another chance to talk, whatever.
We do. It's
Several
pretty
years
informal.
ago,
3 minutes.
when I was sitting in your seat
Yeah.
and
He
Steve
used to-
Bucket was
he used to state his
principal,
name and his address.
we was looking at online classes for French
Mhm.
and things like that. And there was a reason that Keith would not go to that. Because there was a group coming in wanting to set it up for us.
Mhm.
And what he learned was that the teachers were not all the same. And they were not all good. And that was my question to you guys is South Putnam got any evaluation abilities or anything like that on those virtual teachers? Now, kind of what you was
Okay.
referring to,
Mhm.
and to make sure that they're getting the job done.
Thank you.
Because if you wait till the end of the semester, kids already lost it if the
Right.
teachers were not any good. But
Yeah.
that's my question.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
We will ask that. Dr. Smith, Mr. Cash, what is asking about the evaluation of the teachers of the virtual
Yeah, so we come a long way technologically since that time. So a lot of these things will be just pre-recorded um, lessons along with content as well, highly developed content that teaches the concepts that are being instructed. And so it's not where there's just some teacher standing on the other side of a computer or another side of a camera. These are the highly developed lessons that the students access, and so they're pre-developed pre-content. So it's not live instructors, it's virtual instruction with the pre-developed content. But we've come a long, long way since someone standing on the other side of the standing on the other side just talking.
Right.
It's
So-
a very interactive content, very engaging content for the students.
So what you're telling us is the content has been vetted, and is part of a larger pre-approved, planned, proven
Yes.
system.
Okay, so
Accredited instruction, yes.
right. So if a family who is currently homeschooling decides to do the virtual option, then the only difference would be they would use the South Putnam approved virtual instruction option or curriculum option, right?
Correct.
So they would have to agree to change to that. But other than that, everything would be the same. They'd still stay at home, but they would use our virtual model rather than whatever they may have already been using.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cash. Anyone else have a question?
Add my name to the list, Michael Hodge. I didn't put it on there.
Okay.
In the virtual case, are we purchasing the content for those students?
There'll be a license fee for each student, yes.
But South Putnam is purchasing the content, not developing the content. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. It is pre-developed content, yes.
Anybody else?
Am I on that list? I know I put down Fillmore, but I do have a question about this.
Yes. We are very informal. So if you have a question, now's the time. So about the virtual
With
stuff.
the virtual, and
Mhm.
I was hearing, So these students are gonna be on virtual at home and then even those who are here, um, I know here, if you have a hybrid, you'll have an adult or you have someone educated to be able to answer questions that come up and all that. But the ones who are going to this virtual are like, they're gonna be tape sessions, so there's not gonna be like a live opportunity to interact and have discussion and that sort of thing. Like, is it gonna be like AI?
There's options. Yeah, there is an option for students for interaction for sure. It's just the main content is pre-developed.
Okay.
Which is what most virtual schools have gone to.
Thank you.
Anybody else about the virtual to the hybrid or virtual or flex, right?
We currently have some students taking some virtual classes, correct? I mean, I know for a fact my son's one of them, and he loves it. He takes sign language. All three of my kids have taken sign language virtually. I don't know where the instruction is based out of, maybe Carmel or something. I can't remember where it was, but anyways, they have absolutely loved it, and I know it's something that's
They
just
take it
one
here at
class.
school, or they're
It's on their own time. It's on their own time. They can work ahead. They can. I mean, they can work at their own pace. They can be done with the class.
it's to the flex.
It's during the school day.
But they can do it during the school day. Absolutely, there is time during the school day that they work on it too. But they can also work on it at home. Yeah, you know, they're. I mean, it's. We did. I was always involved in instruction, examples, or like we had to record videos of them doing sign language, and I was always the dummy that got involved in that. So, but anyway, it was actually pretty nice. But that's one class. That's all I know.
Um, I have a question on the IHSAA. What are the guidelines for virtual school or flex or whatever? What are those guidelines?
So basically, it's four categories. Basically, it's four categories, right? Normal kid that goes 7 periods to South Putnam. You know, we do that every single day. So those kids are all eligible.
Yeah.
The homeschool kids, that'll be we have homeschool students that we offer athletics to here at school. Obviously, and there's two different things, right? You're talking about co-curricular, and then you're talking about extracurricular. I'll talk about extracurricular because that's what the athletic department will kind of talks about. Co-curricular such as band, we have play, things like that. I think any of these kids, as long as you guys said that was okay, I think we can do that. I think that's within your purview. Now, as far as extracurricular, homeschool kids, obviously, not obviously, but 1 period a day within our school that you have to go to, an accredited homeschool. We don't really have a checkup on that. What is an accredited homeschool? If you sign a paper that says, hey, I want to take, I'll use my son, Charlie Rounds to homeschool. Well, by the state of Indiana, that's fine. And then he comes to weights here at school, and then he can play football on Friday nights. And then you have.
And that's per IHSA.
And that's per the IHSA rules. He has to have gone to the homeschool for the previous 3 years, and he has to live within South Putnam School District. So that's
okay.
Yeah, that's not South Putnam rules.
That's not South Putnam rules.
Right.
That's per the IHSA.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and so does it matter what class? Does it matter what class that one class is? Does it have to be like math or reading or science?
I think we have a couple students that take weights through us. I think we have a student that takes a science class.
And does the grade thing make a difference? Does it have to be passing?
Yes, but we have the parents report that to the IHSA. We don't have any.
No, I mean for the one class they have here.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do have to pass that class. Great. Yes. Yeah. Then you have the hybrid student. Sorry. Yeah. Then you have the hybrid student. We're doing that with students like the Kleins. We're doing that. that would be what I would consider a hybrid student, right? Brody's going to his math class with, Mr. Tinsley, and then he walks into a room, he takes his sign language class, and then he goes back to Coach Sorrell weights, and then he's back in Miss Jones English, and he's throughout the day doing his thing. And if hey, we need another class that's a greater math than we offer. If that's something that we have a kid that's ahead in math, we can do something like that.
So are you saying the flex we're already pretty much doing, we just don't advertise it, basically? Okay.
Right. And so those students again are brick and mortar students. That's what the IHSA considers them as. So they're good.
Yeah.
The virtual student, that's a different student. The IHSA is not really too happy about the virtual student, but we understand that this is happening more and more. So I looked at the rules, and then I talked to the assistant commissioner the other night about this. The kind of the four things are kind of similar. Public school, serving in the student's residence, so they have to live in South Putnam School District. So we couldn't take a student from Greencastle, lives in Greencastle School District, and take him as our own.
Okay.
Student first began as a freshman. If they begin as a freshman, then they're eligible right away. If not, so if this is a sophomore, like my son will be a sophomore, if he decided to go to virtual and stay at home, he would have to do one semester of virtual school and then be eligible. So he would have to sit out for one semester, and then they'll be currently enrolled, and then pass the minimum number of credit courses required by them, and then the student regularly attends courses. So those are things like that. And then they also have to be enrolled in one class at within the building.
Now that's grades 9 through 12 only, correct?
That's grades 9 through 12 only.
So 6 through 8 would be
6 through 8 again. We normally kind of follow the IHSA's rules.
Right.
If the board wanted to put separate rules in place for those students, you guys, that's well within your purview, but we would just have to work together on that.
Yeah.
I would hate doing that just because I would have to have, oh, what are you, an eighth grader?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, you can play basketball. Or,
right.
Well, you're a freshman now you can't. You're under these rules.
Right.
I think the consistency of that is nice, but if you guys want to change those rules, that's well within your purview as a board. So.
Yeah.
So Dr. Smith, when you're looking at the virtual curriculum for a fully virtual student, if that student wanted to play sports and they're in grades 9 through 12, say, they would still have to come to, the way I understand this, they would still have to come to the brick and mortar for at least one, okay. So, but what about the, to do that with the IHSA, they have to have certain credits.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm assuming that, I'm taking for granted that when you look at the curriculum models or whatever we're calling them, that they follow that structure that our high schools would follow as far as credits and what classes students are taking.
Yes, that's going to be with the counseling department to make sure that those students are going to participate in, I should say, activities that they have the appropriate to do. But our goal is to educate them no matter what, and to make sure they're taking a rigorous course course load as well. Keep online them, but just getting an ISSA, they're not. So, but yes, you have we that just like we would do.
Okay. I think I got that.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
made sense. From a teacher standpoint, I hope that if this gets approved, that somewhere in our policies, we have a policy of kids moving in and out, because I have a worry that kids are going to get mad about something or mad about a test and go to online or go to this, and then the next week or two or whatever, then they want to come back. And from a teacher standpoint, it's really hard when kids are moving in and out of your classroom and trying to give them a good education, and also like that their grade means something.
Yep.
And so if this gets approved, I just hope somewhere in the policy, there's something about how many times you can change your mind in the same semester.
And hopefully there's some existing,
Yeah.
you know, examples
Yeah,
and
for sure.
guidance. So,
There are.
and I know
Is
it
that
is,
something, Dr. Smith, we would have to write policy for, or that is built in the structures that you're setting up?
Yes. And we've done the handbook for those academies, to make sure that we do exactly what that question was about. 'Cause right now, we're thinking there's no way that you can go in and out except at semesters, and I think that's what we were working with as an admin team.
Okay.
That's,
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
well,
Your mic is
fair,
in and out.
easily and definitely a fair teacher.
Okay.
hey, Dr. Smith, can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us? 'Cause
Um,
you're breaking up a
If
lot.
if you could try turning off your video, that might save some bandwidth and it might make the audio more clear. If you turned off your camera, that might help. As long as you still have audio.
Do you still have audio?
Gone. He left me. He gone.
Oops.
Okay.
I know it works on Teams. You turned your camera on. Okay.
Do we want to wait till he
Okay.
comes back?
Well, in the meantime,
Do we have
I
to do
don't know if
anything
he
to
can hear
reconnect
us
him?
or not.
I think he can just jump back
Okay.
on.
Are you contacting him, Alexa?
I don't think so. He doesn't have to be let in, does he? He just jumped on last
Oh,
time.
should just be able to jump right in.
Does he know he needs to?
He does now. He
Okay.
didn't already.
Okay, thank you. Well, are you guys okay with, because this will be on the agenda for this month.
I mean, I'm glad we have some
Yeah.
And
folks
I'm
here
too.
to talk to
Yes.
it.
Thank you.
You have
Anybody else?
any other comments, any pros or cons, like are the things that you're aware of that we're not seeing that haven't been discussed?
I think like what
Heather?
Tiffany said is, I mean, I know when Dr. Smith and Mr. Scott and Mr. Jones, our new principal, talked that I think that letting kids in, you have to make a decision for a semester.
Yeah.
You can't just jump in and out.
Yeah.
That was brought up very quick. I think Mr. Scott brought that up very quick because we understand that, right? We all fight that. From the athletic standpoint, I understand, we've got to be attractive to students. And one of the ways to be attractive to students is through our athletics. We can be it through offering them different options. I graduated in 1997. It's not 1997 anymore. We're going to have to be dynamic and in trying to figure out different options for different students. There's too many options out there for kids. I think it's tough. And I know there's a lot of where's the curriculum coming from? Who's going to be in charge of all those things? I think, we can't take the person out of the loop with those things. I think, Mr. Jones, our new principal, I think Mr. Scomp, Mr. Gardner are great resources that will continue to look at these things along with other people and continue to just try to do the best for, like, if every kid that comes through our door, we're going to try and help them out and get a good education. And that's, I've been here for 3.5 years now, and that's been the fun part about working with the group of people that in this room, down the hallway, like they're trying to find the different opportunities for every single kid. And it's hard, right? Because I want every kid to have the experience I had, going through high school, but that's not the case anymore. So we're gonna have to be dynamic and trying to think of different things.
I know some teams have lost, especially since COVID, have lost players, swimmers, whatever, because kids are working. And the legislature made it so that kids can work. Yep. And so, so I can see the virtual option, especially for a kid who wants to still play sports, still be with his friends or her friends, but has to work to make a little money to get to college or do whatever. So yes, Mr. Hodge.
So I'm not staff, but I do have some questions trying to understand this. I don't know the statistics of the letting of current students. So as I see it, the virtual option, you have the ability to not come to school. Okay. So in that case there, how are we any different than any other school? Because in that case, if they're not coming to school, they can't play sports. Right? So how are we going to track them over Indiana Ag and Tech or Cloverdale or whoever? How are we different? Okay. And to play sports, you have to live in the district. So how many are we letting that are actually in the district for that to be a selling point? Because what else do you have? If it's not sports, is it counseling that is going to attract them to us? That's the question I have is we're offering this, but how are we any different? Why would they, North Putnam lost however many hundred, how many of them went to Ag, Mac, and Tech in Park County? So what's the sales pitch? Because I heard Kevin say we got to give them options, but you still got to get them in the door. So what's the plan to get them there? Is it just we're going to offer this? If that's the case, that's just more paperwork for the handful that are here or that take advantage of it.
Do we want to form, those are some good concerns. Do we want to form some of those into some official questions to get answered before things are voted on?
Well, I'm not sure
Like what I think to just phrase
You hear what I said?
I don't think
Dr.
Dr.
Smith,
Smith
did
can
you
hear you.
hear?
Kevin, he
Yeah.
told me
Oh,
so.
okay.
Well, we need an answer because if he didn't hear it, then that was for naught because he's the audience.
How do we want to phrase that to give Dr. Smith some pointed questions to answer with something like that?
No, I'm on the line.
Okay, you can hear? Okay.
Did you,
I can hear.
could you hear Mr. Hodge's question?
Again.
Okay, good.
Good.
We're gonna let you answer it.
Yeah. So one is, we want to give kids the option to be South Putnam students, and I know there's a lot of people that want to be South Putnam students, but they want the flexibility. And so these options basically work together. So the virtual option is just for those students who want to have that true virtual school option, and we obviously have students who are choosing that. So that's just our South Putnam option to be able to do that. We're looking at the curriculums that are going to be engaging that they may not be getting somewhere else. And also that virtual option, like I said, works with the hybrid option that gives kids options to come to our, nationally ranked ag program, our amazing science program, our growing band program that they aren't going to get in those virtual settings. So they can access that, which then gives them access to a lot of other things within the district. And it keeps them, a South Putnam student. I think that goes a long way. So that's the virtual. We already have students that are choosing that. Why not give them the South Putnam option too? And work really diligently to make sure we are having those curriculums that are going to engage them and want them to stay, and not just a canned program. Second thing is that ties in is the hybrid option, which is going to, I believe, provide a lot of additional flexibility. We haven't even got into talking about. We did a little bit. Lisa talked a little bit about talking about students wanting to work, those types of things. But now that the state's mandated work-based learning, this is going to play really, really well with that and allow a lot of students to get the work-based learning things they need to get done as well, and still provide them high-quality education in that. So it's just it's a South Putnam option for what a lot of other districts are doing, but we're just doing it with that South Putnam twist. Giving them the options to the other accesses, that amazing things that are going on here in South Putnam.
part of it too. It's reaching back out to the people that we've lost to the virtual options because we didn't
Mhm.
anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that would be part of the marketing campaign that would go along with this, to target those students that we've lost to other programs and target other students that may want to take our options that are not, that are the other districts are not offering.
We have students every year who are leaving us because of the virtual option and we have nothing to give them. So as they come in and have those conversations with our guidance counselors are amazing at trying to get them to see that like this is the best thing, but sometimes you just can't get them to see that. So when the students leave, just not having anything to give them, we just lose the student completely. So being able to say, like, still try to get them to stay here. Because I honestly think being in the building and being with the people is the best place to be. But if they've decided that that's no longer where they want to be, being able to say, okay, but then you still have this, and you're still connected to us if you change your mind. Because we do have students that change their mind, they go virtual and they come back. So if you change your mind, it's a lot easier coming back to us because we've been a part of your education.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
And what do we think the financial impact is going to be up front? Because, is it based per student? Is it a package plus student? And Kevin, you said we're already doing some similar things, but we're just not doing it as a system where we have people coming, we're letting some people join athletics and stuff like, and I know we're talking about some isolated things here and it's not exactly the same, but for this system, what would that cost be?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna vary depending upon the student, because of what options that we're gonna give them. Just like Lee's kids, right? They have particular things that they want, so that curriculum has a particular cost. Other students who may go full blown into it may have additional costs that we would have, and so there's different options out there that I'm looking at right now to decide which one of those packages that we're going to ultimately choose. And it probably is going to be a combination of all of it because we want to individualize that instruction to the student. And so some cost things we already have in place, other things we would bring in as a per student, but we would know the student was there and then access that curriculum as a licensing.
Well, with current funding, though, we expect this to be not a loser in as far as we're not going to be spending more money to have the program than what we're getting for those students being in here. So it should be a positive. We expect it to be a positive no matter what.
Absolutely. Yes, we expect it to be a positive net gain.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Mrs. Boyce.
Utilizing as much of our current curriculum and so that we have as possible, and then looking at for additional things for the individual student needs for sure.
Happy Voice. Just a couple comments about the curriculum or questions. So if there are students who are wanting to go into the virtual or the hybrid situation, how would that play out for students who have IEPs? Would somebody here be monitoring those IEPs to make sure those minutes and those requirements are being taken care of? And then on the other hand, Tiffany was talking about students going in and out from semester to semester and so forth. Will there be an opportunity for parents and students to preview the virtual online academies to see if they like it? Because I know with a lot of that virtual instruction, there's a certain level of maturity and time management. So you don't want students to get 6 or 8 weeks down the road, even though there is a staff member, a licensed staff member in that room that probably isn't necessarily licensed in all different kinds of subjects. How are we going to make sure that those students aren't starting to slip? Because if they get to the end of the road and they don't receive their credit, or 1 and 2 years down the road, I can see this being quite an task for our counselors to make sure that everybody's getting their credits and things so they don't get close to their senior year and all of a sudden they're missing something. And we wouldn't want parents to come back on that and say, you dropped the ball with my student or something. So the IEP, that's a question, maybe 504s too, I don't know. But then, where's the transparency with the curriculum? Are we willing to share what company that would be? We're talking about
the financial aspect and who we're going to pay for these things, and then also training for teachers, how much that involved, how much cost. Is that one teacher that's going to be in the room? Is it going to be 3 or 4 other teachers who may float in and out of the room? Because what would we do if that one particular staff member left or had to be gone for a period of time or a short term of leave or something like that? I don't know who that person is, but you can see where some of these things bubble up a lot of times. So you might want to think about those.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, these are all things that, well, definitely things be compliant with all Indiana laws, making sure that we're meeting all the IEP goals and accommodations, 504s, all those types of things for sure. And then making sure that we have that support for that student and making sure those curriculums do have the support. So we're in that vetting process now, going through all of those different options, so that we can make that recommendation and get that approved, because we'll want the curriculums approved by the board as well. So, and I'll do that in the July meeting once we get approval to get everything started.
Right. So regarding curriculum, because of state law, schools have to pay for curriculum anyway. So that's kind of a wash. So, and then I'm assuming we get, so for the education fund, which is funded by our students' numbers. So like if with the Flex Academy or even with the Virtual Academy, if it's somebody that wants to play sports, and they have one class, aren't we, doesn't the state pay so much for the, how do they do that? As far as paying per kid, if they're only
Yes.
for 2 classes, say, or 1 class?
Yeah. So what we have is if they're in person in a hybrid academy, they'd be considered a 100% funded student, meaning because they're on site. If they are a virtual student, they are 85% of the full tuition. But if they come to school a period, then they would have to work with the state on what that funding formula looks like, because they would be but I believe they'd be funded at 85% because they're more than 50% virtual.
Wait a minute. So if they're virtual, if they're all virtual, do we get paid for that student? Do we receive funds for that student at 80%?
Yeah, 85% of the tuition.
Just want to make sure I understood that.
Back to the original questions that were just asked, and I don't think we really answered much, but I think what you're saying, Dr. Smith, is that this would go before the board Wednesday, and should we vote to start this process, the teachers wouldn't be able to see any of that curriculum or anything until like July then, right? Like another month. So what you're saying?
No, I would get no. You say that we're good to move forward. I would get with them immediately and start going through things.
So what you're saying is there's no previewing until after it's approved by the board to start the process? No,
he's saying that like in school, there's usually a curricular team or curriculum team, like for, math, say. So I'm assuming I'm making this assumption that a team would be formed of educators to work together to choose a curriculum then that Dr. Smith would ask for our approval at the July meeting.
Okay. Is that correct?
Do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly. So we always want to make sure that it's okay to have a virtual school and have these options for students, and then we'll put all the other pieces together, and the work that we've been doing on the back to put these all together so that you have a full picture of what the curriculum is, who's doing it, what that all looks like. We have most of that in place, but it's like we still have some decisions to make on who the curriculum provider is, those types of things. I want to make sure we're good to go on having a virtual academy. We already have. Here's the thing. A lot of the things we already have in place because we already have kids who are taking virtual classes. So that model is we already have in place. We just are now making it formal and allowing and advertising for more students to come into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of Mr. Hodges' questions was, how are we going to attract these students? We're not going out and attracting students from other districts. We're trying to keep and get the virtual students within our own district. I think maybe you had a misunderstanding on what this was targeting, but I think it's.
Those numbers mean, those are, the letting that we're losing is within our district.
I believe that's what this is for. Yeah. So I just to clarify, make sure you understood what that was. I think we're targeting the students within our own district that we're losing to virtual or homeschool or whatever it may be.
And what I was trying
But
to figure out also is the ones that we're already kind of doing this for, is that the majority of the ones that would be coming to this anyway, or is it
Yeah.
like a small percentage and we think we could get maybe, another 50% of those ones that are gone? Like, do we have any? I know you never know.
You never know
You don't
till you-
offer
right,
it, but
right.
that's why I was trying to figure out approximately how many kids are we doing that with now that
Right.
are kind of counted as our students and aren't showing up. How are they showing up in those numbers?
Right.
Are they being counted as the ones that are not here, or are they being counted as the ones that are?
I know for a fact that we have a huge homeschooling population. And this would give them an option because homeschooling is pretty hard, especially when you get into,
Upper
grade,
levels.
upper
Yeah.
levels.
I couldn't do it past like
Yeah.
fifth grade.
But the way I understand it, you don't
I feel
have to
that.
live in this district unless you want to play sports. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we could pull from anywhere in the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
basically.
My role is extracurricular, so
Right.
role within athletics,
Right.
making sure we follow those.
Right.
There's a kid from Cascade that wants to come into our virtual academy. He
Right.
can come and we can get that money. He or she just cannot participate in athletics here at South Putnam.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hodge, does that answer your question?
Bring them in, yeah. That's
Kinda.
key here.
Right.
Can I offer another comment? And this is just maybe a few years down the road. I worry that we're gonna have lots of kids that are gonna choose to take ag and weights and take math and English as their online classes, and that we're gonna end up having to get rid of teachers because we don't have enough kids enrolled in person anymore. And we're gonna lose the options. Like, we have a small school, but we offer awesome classes.
For
And
sure.
we get to let kids take all these AP classes.
Yeah.
And I worry that the kids are like, oh, I can take all the hard classes online and it'll be easier and take the fun classes. And then 2 years down the road, we're gonna lose 2 math teachers or 2 English teachers. And we always say we do more with less at South Putnam. But if we don't have students in person, we can't offer all those things anymore. And so it's just something to think about of like, I don't know, like we want to appeal to kids, but I feel like the kids are like, oh, I can take math and English online, and then who are we going to have in our classroom?
Can we get some hard data from another school who's implemented this and it's been going for a couple of years and see how much it's improved, and how much it's hurt?
Sure.
Probably good to get some facts.
I mean, I don't know exactly the model that Cloverdale uses, but I did talk to a family who homeschools somewhere, I don't know, like Mooresville or someplace like that, like way far away. And they bring their kids down like once a semester or once every 9 weeks to do, I don't even know what they do, but something, a visit on the Cloverdale brick and mortar. And it doesn't cost the family anything. But Cloverdale's getting money for that student or those students. So I don't know how that works. I'm assuming it's something similar to what we're talking about here.
I can't imagine that the kids in your AP classes. I mean, I don't think AP is an option online.
Right, I get it, but I'm saying if you end up having
It
like
is.
see the teacher that teaches mostly upper one all day. But then if those kids are all going online and there's not enough places to fill,
For sure.
then I'm gonna teach algebra 1 and there's not gonna be like, oh well, you can take calculus online, because you can take calculus online. People do it all the time. And we won't we're like, well, you can still take it, but you don't get an in-person teacher anymore. And it is a very good experience to take those kinds of classes. That's what I worry about. Like, I don't think the kids that take my classes are going to necessarily go online, but it's like, would there be space for me to teach those classes if we don't have enough kids enrolled in algebra 1 and geometry? You know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you a clarifying question? Is your concern more toward, is your concern more against doing it, or just a precaution that if we do it, that's something to consider?
I mean, I'm kind of with Mr. Rounds, and like this is the way it's going, and I know we're losing people and we're trying to keep people in our school. I just worry in the long run we're going to end up having to cut teachers, which means we're going to end up cutting programs, those upper level classes. You know, like if I'm teaching a calculus class to 6 kids, then that might go away and you have to take it online because you need to teach algebra 1 because there's not enough kids enrolled in these algebra 1 geometry classes to fund that teacher.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and again, I don't think it's going to be a problem next year, but it's just something that I worry about years down the road because we're already stretched very thin of teachers that we have, and we offer so many things, and it's one of the things I think that brings people into our schools.
Mhm.
If we lose a lot of kids taking those 4 classes in the hybrid model, which is great because it keeps them here, but are we going to lose core teachers, which means we're going to lose class options? Like that's my worry, but I mean, I know this is the path we're going down. It's just a worry I have.
Here's what I'm thinking. Is that if we don't have students, we don't get funding that goes into the education fund. And if the education fund goes down, that's when we have to cut teachers. So the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Smith, both of these models pull money into, by having students participate in them, would pull students, even at 85%, into the education fund coffers, correct?
That is correct.
So, I mean, I don't know how that plays out, and the state may change it next year, but it seems like, I don't know, might be a benefit.
What's
You
the
might have fewer kids. No, it's the same number of teachers.
Well, more class size, and that's great. But then, like, how too small before we say that's not worth paying
what's the smallest class size you've ever had? You.
for me?
Yeah.
5.
Okay. What about
That's physics.
what about another teacher? Is there any that's had 1 or 2 or 3?
Oh yeah, yeah. You're
Okay.
right there. You're
So so as long as the money's coming in and kids want those classes,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be in a better spot than if we don't do anything.
right. I understand.
If we do nothing,
Right. This is
But
everyone else is doing.
yeah.
And if it's our academy, we get to set the policy that
Yes.
things are going to happen, how kids move in and out and all that. Versus if it's a different academy that they're going to, now we don't.
Here's the other thing I'm thinking too, is that the virtual academy and the hybrid, well, the virtual academy might get people, kids, students into the building. And then once they maybe take one class in the building,
Right.
then, and especially at the high school level when parents are probably, most of what they're doing is virtually anyway. So maybe they take the classes they can't maybe get here, or anyway, I don't know. I see a lot of really
It's
good
a valid concern,
opportunity.
but I
yeah,
think you kind of open my eyes to it a little bit. You're getting 85% of that. If they're virtual, and then there's a blend of that, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't seem like yes, there's always that risk that kids might not want to take those classes that we, maybe we don't have a lot of enrollment in those specific classes, but what do we can't not do something because we're afraid of what might happen.
Might
We
happen.
have
Yeah.
to do something. Now, I'm not saying we have to do this. What I'm saying is what we're doing now is nothing. So we have to at least try something.
If we get 85% for a kid, what's it costing us? So what are we actually netting? Are we netting 25% per kid, or are we netting 15% per kid?
I'd say the number's much higher than that. So I think it's significantly higher than what you're talking about.
50.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So because we already have staff, we're not having to hire additional staff that we already.
Well, I know, but based on the cost of the program, so if I don't know, 85% of what we get, I don't know, let's say it's $5,000. We get $5,000. How much does the program cost per kid? Is what I'm saying. Like how much we're getting per kid.
Right, and I'll have all those numbers for you. 'Cause I'll break out the staffing cost and all that as well in that, so we know what that entire cost would be. So I'll have that for you.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would be that much. That would be,
No, all of those line visits,
Well, I mean, the virtual costs something per kid.
right.
yeah, yes,
That
absolutely, absolutely, yes,
would come out
absolutely.
of the education fund, but
Right.
everything else would
I
be,
think we need to see what
yeah. Oh, I agree.
what the actual dollar is.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just 85% sounds great, but also we have to consider that there is a cost for that.
So you said you'll have those numbers. When would you have those
Yeah,
numbers?
I can show worst case scenarios and all that, and
Yeah.
of that, and then and again, the more robust curriculum that you choose, and more engaging curriculum is, be on the higher end, and then some of the other ones would be on the lower end. It's just we have some of those options now. So depending on what the student needs, like there's some students that use a particular program for credit recovery. We have others that are using some of the virtual instruction that we have, as Lee was talking about for the sign language. So it's going to be dependent on the kid, but I will be able to show you the different levels and what that is.
Thank you.
Can you also maybe give us an example from another district that has gone to this for a few years?
Absolutely.
I think the question that was brought up that would show what the brick and mortar numbers were before they implemented and then what they are now currently. That might be something that we can kind of compare to that I think would be beneficial to what we're trying to do.
We'll never know exact, but
Right.
if we have something
We have
to
something
look
to
at,
base off of. Yeah.
you can estimate a 15%
Yeah.
plus or minus swing or something.
Right. Okay,
I
thank you.
have excellent examples for you on all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. As far as Mrs. Kathy, what you mentioned about the curriculum and previewing the curriculum, by law, parents can preview any curriculum that we use. So
So would they be
that would fall in.
maybe a week or two trial to see if they're, I mean, for some students, a full semester commitment is a lot. If they get about 4 or 5 weeks into it, can't manage my time.
Right.
Because we've mentioned a few students that are probably, are more capable, motivated students. I wonder how many students we've lost who maybe were struggling in some way or another, either academically or attendance or behaviors and things. Are they going to fit into that model and be as successful as some of our more academically driven students? I feel like counselors will have to be involved, whatever staff member in that room would need to really keep a close eye on performance and making sure that, deadlines are being met or.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get all that too. But if we approve the models, and then July is when we approve curriculum that the teachers and administrators have decided on and recommend, then I would assume, just like any parent who can come in and, talk to the counselors before school starts and help manage their students, schedule.
3 weeks with your staff and get all this information out to parents and then register
Right.
again. I think your next meeting is July 16th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so and our first teacher day is August 3rd. So there's a very small window in there for all of that to fall into place. And so.
But the only staff is one we currently have that's already doing virtual. Correct?
But if you have an influx of students too, I mean, I don't know. We don't know how many students may choose that, how many seats you're going to, obviously one teacher, maybe you might need two. You just don't know.
And are the staffing requirements for virtual the same as regular classroom ratios, like 20-1, 30-1? Like what's
higher? The virtual.
That makes sense.
Because let's just say we had an influx of 37 students. That's one of the numbers I think I saw. It's like, is that still manageable?
Right.
Yeah.
Seems like
I think at this point you just have to solve one problem at a time.
Right.
And the problem that we're trying to solve is our loss of students to virtual and homeschools.
But it is good to be thinking about these things and what other problems this might cause.
To line
but there would be
other
good
things.
problems to have.
Right.
Sure.
But
The other thing about Kathy's question about the IEPs, all of, if we're changing placement of a student, they're going to virtual, all of that would go through ACRs and case conference meetings and decisions inside of those. So it wouldn't, if we would have to change how.
That's what I figured. I didn't know if the board was aware of that, you know, how that was. That's basically.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Nothing else on that? Moving on. What would you like to do next? Okay. Let's talk about redistricting. Okay. So last couple weeks ago, Dr. Smith presented a plan to redistrict, which would mean moving grades 3, 4, and 5 from Fillmore to Central. We've had a lot of
And also K through 2 from Central to Fillmore.
yeah.
No. That's not
No.
that. That's
No.
no.
I think before we
No.
talk about redistricting, can't talk
Okay.
today. Let's talk about what problem are we trying to solve?
For the redistricting?
The redistricting sounds like a solution to some problem. What is the problem?
Oh. Well, we have several problems.
So
Finances being one.
so K through
Being the
so
big one.
Central's still going to have K through 5.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah. You can't send Roseville kids all the way over to Fillmore.
Yeah.
That would be way too long.
I want us to start looking at.
You know what I mean?
So what's the financial impact if we talk about this for a year to make sure it's a good fit? Like what's the financial impact of waiting? Because
What problem is
Yeah,
trying to be
let's
solved?
answer one question at a time. Joe had a
What
question.
is the problem?
Right.
And what would redistricting I can't, why can't I say that word
Can't
tonight?
either.
What could redistricting do to solve problem X? Are we trying to make Fillmore more utilized? Because, you know, if we start taking students out of Fillmore, that's doing the opposite. Are we trying to balance teacher-student ratio? What is the problem or that we're trying to resolve?
Well, one is the number of teachers that we have. And yeah. And then the operations. And then I don't know. I don't see it as simply as you do, or as you're trying to get it to be, because it's like everything's kind of a mess because of SEA 1 and what that's going to look like in a few years. So I appreciate all of us and Dr. Smith coming up with some proactive ways that we can reduce what we're spending on the operations, right, in the future. I mean, coming down the road. And then that is also then related to the bond funds, because the bond funds, we can use those now to fix things in operations that we know we're not going to have money for to fix later. I mean, remember, it's the property tax thing, right, that funds the operations fund. And so if the governor does and gets through what he wants, then that means people's property taxes are maybe, that's what he said last time, right?
Yeah.
Will start going down. Yeah,
that's
we
so
won't
not
talk
true.
about that. Anyway, supposedly the governor has, said, he hopes that the schools are watching their operations budget and are taking good care of things financially, because there's going to come a time when we're going to be sorry if we don't pay attention to those things now.
So operationally, so my understanding is the teachers are paid for through the education fund, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's not what's at question. And it seems that it might be to not have to hire teachers, take advantage of some teachers that are naturally leaving and not have to bring those back, rebalance the classes, and get that teacher to student ratio. That's if we're using that to address some kind of funding issue, we're actually looking at that's messing with the education side of the funding, not the operations side of funding. So I think there's probably a lot of things we can do operationally, but what does that have to do with the redistrict of Fillmore? And if we have to move students around, is it right to move the Fillmore students? We already have two other schools that are closed, and now going to a centrally located school here. Is there if districting, man, I cannot talk. If redistricting the area is a thing, should we look at other options and maybe bringing more kids to Fillmore instead of the other? I mean, are there? And I know that we've talked about making Fillmore some sort of destination, maybe putting some things there that they may not get in other areas because maybe there's a little more space or some flexibility, and it's a beautiful school building too. The courtyard is pretty cool. Like if I was a kid, I would have wanted something like that right down there. So, and there's a rich history of. We just found out this weekend. I didn't really think it, or was it last weekend, that there was I've heard my mom talk about it. I knew she went there, but I didn't realize how often schools redistrict and how often they they change things in time. Everybody that spoke about the school district changing and how they went to this school, went to that school, and everybody's had that in their course of their school. Uh, you know, here at South Putnam, right? It's affected everyone.
Right.
Does it make sense to move kids out of a town school that's kind of holding the town up, and that's kind of what makes that, right? And we've already experienced that failure at Bell Union and at Reelsville. So does it make sense to bring more kids to Fillmore? Because the other thing I'm thinking of is if we did move things around and you're taking kids from there and you're doing something else with that space, maybe more boutique classes or some field trip destination type spaces, how does that go into the uh, calculation that the state uses for underutilized schools? Because when I look into it, because Fillmore is an older school and it's been remodeled so many times, they look back at it, and I got some conflicting information, but they look back 25 years to see what your student enrollment has been at that school, physical attendees of that school, and utilization of those classrooms by design, and that's part of the calculation. And there's also maybe for some rural schools you only go back 5 years, so it's kind of weird how it's worded, but I couldn't find anything specific. But when I started to see Indiana Department of Education, you know, sites referenced, then I knew I'm getting closer to the truth, right? So those are some things we need to think about as well. Is do we want to risk putting Fillmore in the position where it is being underutilized more so than it already is? And when I think about moving students from Fillmore, that's the first thing I think of. Is like, wait a minute, are we doing the right thing? It just seems backward to take a slightly underutilized school. And I'm not saying it's underutilized like majorly, but there's definitely more room for more kids there. And do we want to put that school in that position and risk that for our community?
Put that school in what position?
Position of taking kids away.
Losing kids rather. Okay.
Yeah. If I were in Jefferson Township, I probably wouldn't want my kids to have to go to Fillmore, but I wouldn't want them to go to Central either. That was a big thing back then. It's like, oh gosh, we gotta drive all the way to Central. My school bus trip took 3 times longer. Lee was.
Are you guys closer to Fillmore?
No, it's
I'm
about
4 minutes from Emmett, actually.
it's about equidistant. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the same.
It's probably a little closer here.
It is.
But
It's
as a
probably
crow flies,
15
we're
to
probably closer to Fillmore. I don't know.
15 to Fillmore, maybe 12 to here. Tit for tat.
So let's say.
But that's why I'm going back to like, what is the problem? Let's look at that.
Right.
figure out what's
Well,
best for the students.
the problem has been for the last few years that we don't have enough numbers
Hmm.
at Fillmore, right? That it's always been on the verge of that, oh, the state's going to tell us we got to sell it for $1. And a virtual, or not a virtual,
A
charter
charter
school
school.
goes in or something like that. So that's been the big fear, right? But Dr. Smith has brought in the PK, the
Hmm.
deep, well, we had the DPK, the ONT is over there, the
Hmm.
SPED classes are over there.
I was surprised to
Um,
see some of those pre-K numbers too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so we've been trying to build
Hmm.
those up, but on the other hand, their class sizes compared to some of the class sizes at Centra, it's kind of out of whack, I think.
Yeah, so maybe a redistricting from, if you're saying Bell Union area is 12 or 15 minutes,
Depending.
virtually the same, why wouldn't we send some of those kids to Fillmore instead of Central?
But
Wh-
but then you're going to be getting to now the class sizes of Fillmore are heavy, or you know what I mean? Like
Well, I mean, well, it's going
what
to
problem
take
are we solving by doing that? If we
some
take it away,
utilization of families, where they're located, what the grades are. Like, I mean, it's going to take a big study. I don't think it's
that's a
something we can
huge study.
do by Wednesday. Like, I think it's something we should be studying and seeing if it makes sense for next year.
Yeah, because we need because transportation's a huge
I mean,
cost
he's
for
going
the
to have to
corporation.
Mhm.
Brad would need to look at all that as well.
absolutely.
And I know with what was already produced, proposed, I should say, what was already proposed by Dr. Smith, it kind of made sense when he was talking about it. It's like, okay, I could see where this, like, maybe this is what we do. But the more I think about it, it's like we're kind of doing the opposite thing. It would work for some reasons, and it might do some positives in a couple of areas, but is it really going to be a net positive? And what's it look like long term? And then when I say it would work, meaning you've already got buses coming this way. The students are already coming here, whether they're coming here as a third grader or they're
Right.
coming here as a sixth grader.
Right.
They're already going to be coming
Right.
this way. Now that that seems like, oh, it's just easy. Well, sometimes easy is not right. It's not the right decision. Easy decision is okay. It's an easy decision, so that's part of our reason for making the decision. That shouldn't be a part of the decision. Is that it's an easy decision. It's the right decision is usually a hard decision. And when you're already thinking about it, it's
Yeah.
probably the right thing to do. So, my biggest concern is messing that community up and messing up that what's going on there.
But
We
you're
want
not.
to
I
But
mean, the community's still going to be there. You still have right. You still have,
understand, but you get a lot of pushback, and people moving that wanted to move their kid, not wanting their kids to move, and then the whole dynamic of now you've got some elementary, and it's that way everywhere. You got some elementary kids going. Uh, it's kind of being split up, and some kids are going there and then they're going here, and you're going to have that anyway.
yeah, you have that when they come to
But
as
as
sixth
a,
graders too, right?
yeah, you're going to have those things. But it's like the quick, hey, we're going to do this,
I don't think
and then we got to
quick is
vote on
right.
it in,
Yeah.
in a
Right.
week or two. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Let's really think about it before we rush to a decision that doesn't necessarily have to be made. If there's an operational cost that can be saved, let's try to focus on operations and not involve as much of the education side.
okay, here's my thing though. The education side has everything to do with students. So, um, I just want to make sure that we are doing what's best for the students, not what's best for the adults, but what's best for kids. And so, because of and this wouldn't necessarily change, but it's just something that's in my head is, because I worked at Fillmore for a while, they're short staffed with nursing and especially counseling. And those kids over there need it just as badly as kids everywhere. And so if you bring um, redistricting would help some of those kinds of things because you've got the kids all together, maybe. I don't know, but I think that has to be considered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to get the best education? Not that they don't have good teachers everywhere, But I know from experience, it's a struggle when you're the only one doing it. Where if we put our teachers together, they can collaborate more, which benefits the students. Um, yeah, I
I
just,
know
those are all pieces of the mess,
I
right?
to support that, what you said, like getting everybody kind of on the same page and collaboration,
Mhm.
I do agree that uh, there might be some separation between what is going on at Fillmore and what's going on at Central, and they probably pretty close, but there's probably some differences,
Absolutely. Right.
And my my curiosity brings me to the question: what do the test scores look like when they come into middle school? The kids that have come up through Fillmore versus the kids that have come up through Central. Is there discernible, can you tell a difference just by looking at the test scores once they get into that junior high level? Like, were they really prepared? And we need to find out, is there a difference there? And maybe that's something, Heather could help us with, but is there a difference there? And um, what can we do to balance that out? And is it more and what is the cause of that? Do we think we know what the cause is? I just don't think that's something we're going to identify in the short
See,
term.
I thought we were moving all K through 2 to fin
That
and
doesn't,
all 3
that,
through 5.
Oh,
That
Then
doesn't-
you,
having a primary and intermediate.
why does, I mean, that,
doesn't.
but
in
that's
a
what I
county
thought.
in our district our
This
size,
moving 3 through 5, I'd like,
We're so spread that would be hard. I mean,
we're so spread that would be
sounds
hard for
like it
sure.
would
well,
be
I mean,
they come this, yeah.
That's
You're
that's
doing
only
this.
it's not it's only
that's been
halfway.
talked about.
But the
I'm,
3 through
I'm
5
sure
are gonna, yeah,
other
I
school
mean,
boards
3
have
through
talked
5
about
are
that
going to be
too.
moving just like
Yeah.
everyone else moved, right? I mean, that's
right. I just think,
that.
But I just want to be sure that
we need more time.
we're trying to solve, and I understand. I just want to be sure we're trying to
Yeah.
solve the right problem and not because there was talk of the admin building being moved over there, and it's like, hell, if there is
That's-
underutilized space, maybe that's a space to do
Sure,
it.
but that's not the driving
But
force. It
That,
can't be.
that,
that
that's
can't
a
be the
whole
driving
separate
force.
Correct.
That
issue.
can't be that
Right.
can't be on the
Correct.
table for what needs to happen between the teachers and the students.
Yeah, I think
That should be last. Like, where do we put? Probably gonna have to shut that building down. That would save. We know it would save a lot of operational costs already. But then where do we put those individuals? They can kind of go just about anywhere. It wouldn't be ideal at all, no matter what. No matter what happens, it's not going to be ideal. But using that to be a catalyst for displacing students is not the right thing to
for
do.
that matter, we could rent something for a year till we made a decision on what we were doing.
Yeah, I took health in a portable out here. Like,
I mean,
can't leave-
no, I'm in a
So you
workspace,
do.
but
Yeah.
like
wasn't
that
that old.
workspace
Not that old.
downtown
It's
Greencastle
a
would
few
be
years. I
just,
missed it.
Yeah.
it's not going to cost
Yeah.
40 that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're spending, I don't know how much at the current building, I mean, it would probably be a wash if we had to get more time to decide where we're going to end up
What
displacing
did you
them.
say?
25,000 if everything, and that's if everything is running as it should. That's
25,000.
What's
a
25,000?
year.
So
She's-
2,000 a
to
month.
run the corporation office currently. That's what she was asking, what it costs, and that's if we don't have to have any repairs, which
That's
Right,
operational
which is-
costs.
Which Jared already had
which
said.
we already
So you're
on
have
the-
to have. We already have to have
Right.
repairs, but that's just a bare minimum. It's $25,000.
Okay,
You're-
before we go to the admin
yeah.
business, let's so I have two people that signed up to speak, and then anybody else that wants to say anything about the
Redistricting plan.
Yeah. So, Mr. Cash, would you like to add anything? You can just do it from your seat. Everybody else does.
Start,
Okay.
but, figure out through my list. And I appreciate your comments. As most of those, what you said, and even the delay if we need to. But when you call it redistricting, I don't believe that at all. It's just moving. You're either gonna have third, fourth, fifth, and Fillmore, you're not. It's not, I'm gonna move this line and half the kids are gonna go. Half of they can go either school if there's room in the classroom. That's the policy we've had for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
If there's room in the classroom, teacher can handle them, bring them in. And that not only helps regulate what you need, but it also brings in outside kids. I got two grandkids that went through Fillmore. They live in Dunbar Hill. And, you know, their parents, like some other parents, wanted them to go to Fillmore. And that's where they went. You know, they came to our house, get on the bus, they had to. They quit after their mom started working at Fillmore. And that helped. But money wise, you know, some of the misconceptions was Mr. Smith saying, and I can almost quote it, that rather than building a new administration building, we would move everybody from the administration building to Fillmore. That was why you were moving the classes out.
Mm-mm.
That's what he said.
That's
You know,
That's not.
I listened to it again today, and that was exact word. And not been what he meant, but that's what he said.
It was a proposal. Dr. Smith gave us a proposal because we were
Yeah.
trying to figure out a lot of things going
Right.
on right now. And that did solve some problems. But after we didn't decide anything, it was just an option. Since then, we have gotten a lot of people have given us other options and other thoughts on what we can do with the administration building. That was just one option.
Is
So
there something wrong with the administration building?
honestly, are you serious?
Everything else, all the other superintendents have
It's
been through that building.
no,
it's unsafe.
And this one has too.
Yeah.
But if you go up there, you should just check it out. It's a mess, and
No.
and it's a lot of disrepair. But
yeah. When I first came on the board, Dr. Bernhardt or Mr. Bernhardt was still here. It was his last year before he retired, and he told the board at that time. So Holly and I were the only ones on there at the time. He said, "You guys are going to have to, the board's going to have to do something about the admin building because it is falling down. We don't have enough room for storage." And we've kicked it down the road for 5 years now. So
Well, storage was a problem, and you had a flooding problem.
And you can't find anybody to work on that building, the masonry, unless those people only want to work big jobs. Nobody wants to come and fix that. So I mean, we really have no other option, but we will have to
Tell you
vacate.
what that building was good for is back when we was bonding our work projects that we did at Central and what we did at Reelsville and the other bit. We used that for collateral because we'd already mortgaged all the other buildings, bonded them, and we needed that money values to do some more work.
Yeah.
And that building came in handy. It was a savior. But I understand what you need, but I think you can economically do something right out here somewhere.
Yeah, and we're going to look into that. So let's. I have one more person here. Thank you, who would like to speak about the Fillmore redesign. Is how you put it. I like that. It's easier to say.
that's probably more fitting than
Yeah, probably more accurate.
You'll know me, been around. I think that both facilities have wonderful teachers and great staff. And I understand that through a loss of a few teachers and some things like that, that some shifting or whatever, maybe inside each building needs to happen, or some need to come or whatever. But I just don't feel like just saying that you're going to move 3 through 5 to one place is a solution. Now, I agree with Mr. Cash. It's not redistricting, because if you redistrict, you will affect any family that has kids anywhere from kindergarten up to fifth grade. So it's really, that's why I couldn't say redistricting, because it's just redesign. So, um, and I don't really think that that's the best solution. We do have smaller class sizes for numerous reasons, but also, as Mr. Cash alluded to, for years we have let it be a practice that people who really should, like if you want to think about like where they should go as far as school district or whatever, let those parents and those kids come to Central and not be at Glenmore. And so that has made the class sizes a little bit bigger through the years. Is that was just a choice that allowed parents, and then their kids would get on the morning buses and transfer over here and get dropped off at Central. And that was fine, you know. And so, yes, we do have sometimes smaller classes. And yes, if you moved classes over to Central, Central does have some large classes. I think in the past now, maybe they're going down just a tad bit, because sometimes there were 27 and 28 in a classroom. Now they're, you know, hopefully holding at 20 to maybe 24. And a lot of our classes do have 18, 19. There are a couple that are small that have, and I'll be honest with you, it would be me next year, I would have 12. Okay. But that doesn't really matter. The class size doesn't matter because it's the kids. I could have a class of 12, but it could be worse than a class of 27. So class size, it does matter a little bit, but it's also the makeup of the kids. I was under the assumption that Holly was when I first heard this proposal, but I thought, okay, so they're moving 3 through 5. So it's a 3 through 5 intermediate campus where you could utilize the gifted and the talented, and you could utilize programs for that set of kids. But then I thought K through 1 was going to come, or K through 2 was going to then come and fill classrooms, so that could truly be an early learning campus. Yeah. And could utilize then in like the titles, teachers, and just the different things that would at least make more sense. If you're going to do something with classes and you want like 3 through 5, then make them. I want to be on record that I don't want it to change, but I do understand it's you said change is inevitable. I get that. But like right now, if you take the Fillmore kids, I'm just giving you some examples. I don't know if you're aware. It would make right now Central, when they have like their Christmas program and that kind of stuff, they have to have it in shifts because there's so many kids that they can't have a performance. So like if you had a kindergartner and a fourth grader, you would have one performance at 5 o'clock and then you have another performance at 6:30. So then if you move more kids over, it's just going to be more kids in that bunch as far as that goes. But then if you put the second grade or K through second over there, then you would have enough room. Everybody could have one show, and then everybody could have one show 3 through 5. I mean, those are the benefits of that. If you're going to change and make a change for the kids and adults, because it would help grandparents, it would help all kinds of, all kinds of stuff. And I know we have been sort of short-sighted as far as a nurse or a counselor, and I get that. But just moving 3 through 5 over, those kids at Fillmore who are pre-K through 2 aren't going to have a nurse or a counselor. So that doesn't really pertain. I mean, yes, they should have one. I agree wholeheartedly. There should be one, and I don't know how to fix that. But just by saying you can move it over, it's going to help the counseling and that's not going to work. That's to me as a classroom teacher, that what I just assume do myself, or at least have the time for it. I don't know. I do agree that if something has to be done, you can't make that decision by Wednesday. there is so much else to look at. And transportation, yeah, they're gonna be coming over here anyway, but they really have to, I mean, does it really, really have to get to that? Um, our scores and our kids, we do the best that each building can to send the kids on out to the sixth grade and whatever. And so, um, there's no, there's no fault in the education at either building. And I don't think, right now, I mean, I know we lost a second grade teacher and a kindergarten teacher. And I know maybe you guys lost two.
So altogether, I think what started this was because your CPK is gone, your kindergarten is gone, our first grade is gone, their second grade is gone, our third grade is gone, and our fourth grade and our fifth grade. So altogether, that was 7. Now, Dr. Smith had said, you know, because of retirement, one would have to maybe be 2 instead of 3. So then that's when we left, our teachers were thinking it's a 4th or a 5th grade classroom that's going to have to go down to 2 teachers. And we hadn't made that decision at the time. And so then we had a meeting and started looking at it. And Dr. Smith started writing down, and it's like, we're missing like one of everything. And so it's 7 teachers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get that. I also know, when you want to play the number, I mean, I've been along here, guys. I don't know how many school boards I'm on, okay? Almost 40 years.
You run them all off.
Yeah, how many superintendents, but, we seem to make it work. I know we do less, and we do less, so much more with less. Thank you. But you lost high-end teachers, okay? Some of the teachers who left were higher end, so that is
Higher scale. I don't think you say higher end.
okay.
Okay, higher pay scale. Yeah.
I'll be flat out. They cost more money than
Yeah.
somebody coming in. So I don't know how that fluctuates, and I know the funds are different, and you can't get from this and that and whatever. But there's just so much to think about. And I would hate for a decision to be made quickly, and then there'd be a whole lot of ripple effect, and you know, you're worrying about this or that. Like I'm kind of worried about then who's gonna pull their kids out because they don't want that and go to someplace else. Go to, you know, Fillmore could go to I mean, they could go to North Putnam. I mean, I would schools start homeschooling, or I would really just like to find ways to pull them in. Or
And that's what we're trying to do.
I'm sorry, I won't.
That's
Thank
okay.
you so
No,
much
yeah,
for-
we appreciate
Yeah.
boots on the ground
Thank you.
people.
And
But I do have
one thing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we need to clarify, because the general public doesn't realize how the funds work.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we kept getting was, oh, well, you just built a field house and you did this and that. That's bond money. You can't use that to pay teachers. They're totally unrelated. So I just want to point that out, that different dollars come from different funds, and just because we did those things, it wouldn't have made it, like, we can't pay teachers with bond money. Bond money is meant for improvements. It's meant, like, we've used that money to update our classrooms. We did our science labs one year. We did add classrooms utilization to that field house, because I think most of the kids that are in this building actually spend time there, whether it be the weights or PE or swimming. Like, we did some changes there. So I just wanted to point that out.
And I will add to that too, that I didn't think of before, is that even though we have the education fund for education and the operations fund for everything else, we have to transfer money from our education fund to our operations fund to help with that. So there is a connection. It's not huge, but it's something that we got to think about. And then regarding what Mrs. McCamick had said about the students that, Aaron, I think last time you gave me, or you gave us the number of students that are actually Fillmore District, but that are enrolled at Central.
Hmm.
Was it, is that, do you remember what that was?
It's not very high, and
Okay.
we do have a process now. I know maybe before it was just like Mr. Cash was saying, or Mrs. McCamick was saying, but the process is different now. I mean,
Yeah.
there is an application process. It's
Right.
not just you just
Willy-nilly.
decide you want to do that and you get to do it. It is
Based
there-
on numbers and if they're
it
fit in a
absolutely,
classroom
yeah.
or,
And the reason, you know,
yeah.
it's not to, yeah, there are reasons behind it. The principal at the incoming school has to approve that. Dr. Smith has to approve that.
Does that
Then,
renew every year? I mean, do they have to
yes,
go through that process every year?
they do not have to go through the
Once you-
process every year
Okay.
once they do it, but it is not a large number. I think in my time before Alexa was executive secretary and I was during that time, I think I processed one or two of those.
Okay.
Alexa, how many have you done?
One.
One. I mean, it's not a
Oh.
large number.
No.
It really isn't.
And you even had that when your kids were going to school.
I
right?
did.
Yeah.
I had to move my youngest from Fillmore, unfortunately. I couldn't drive. I had both hips replaced. I couldn't drive. So my husband couldn't make it here and there to make it work. So
But there's a history of that, throughout, throughout time, right? And it's kind of been
Right. There are things
you're open to ask if you can or you can move, but it doesn't seem like it's a high number.
Yeah, it
No.
seems like more for specific
And
circumstances.
I question, like, is there a situation where kids would want to go to Fillmore? Like if they saw, how cool the school was, and
Mhm.
it's a totally different
Yeah,
school than
It is.
Central. And
Okay.
I was even thinking, when we moved from Bell Union here, to this campus up here at Central, it wasn't at the start of the school year. It was mid-year, around Christmas time. We went on Christmas break. Everybody got their
It was mid-year when they moved into high school too in 1970.
everybody got their
It's
their
happened
trucks
before.
and trailers, and everybody moved Bell Union over Christmas time.
Yeah.
And when we came back to school, we had a new third grade room up at Central, and it was like,
interesting.
it doesn't have to happen. I understand that we've got teachers to hire and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like it's actually a little bigger problem than just moving kids from one school to another would resolve anyway.
Yeah. And I think moving the kids to back, well, you said you had thought it was moving all of K through 2 to Fillmore. That's if numbers in the classroom is your biggest concern, then you're just creating the same situation at Fillmore as K through 2, right? If your concern is moving the kids from 3 through 5 from Fillmore to Central as being big classes, then it would be the exact same thing as moving K through 2 to Fillmore. You're going to create big classes.
Oh, I'm not saying that's what you do. That's how
I'm just
I
saying
understood.
that doesn't make any sense to do that if your concern is big classroom sizes. That doesn't make any sense, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
But you would have two, you would have
extra
Fillmore only has
classrooms.
one, now you would have two or three of each class, which would.
You're still the same number of teachers. You're still the same number of teachers. So if you use the same number of teachers in the same number of grades, you're going to have the same number of students in the same number of classes. So your class sizes would be the same, big there and big there. So you're not. It would be you're not solving anything. You're creating.
Not solving that. Mm-hmm.
And transportation alone, I mean, I can't, like, that would be horrible. This is a centralized campus for a reason, right? I mean, that was built for here for a reason. So.
Okay.
One concern I thought of, again, Kathy Boyce, is, we have a fair amount of families who have children in our growing, very well done pre-K program. If families have a child in pre-K, getting ready to start pre-K, they also have a child in primary, they also have a child in intermediate, that will put them on 3 different schedules. Because currently preschool gets out at 2:20-ish. Fillmore is out at 2:35 in order to get kids bused over here, get those buses out here, and then Central gets out at about 3. That creates a whole transportation I know it can be done, but for parents, that's a real pickle. And I fear that we would have families with students in K through 2 who maybe have a sibling in intermediate that would say, well, you're already busing my third or fourth grader over there, take my first and second grader as well. So now those primary classes might be increasing as well. To go back to what Mrs. Cooper said about class sizes, we really just have one very small anomaly at Fillmore right now. I personally had the largest fifth grade class in the corporation with 20 this year, where I think the others, each teacher had closer to 14, 15, maybe 16. So we don't have small classes there necessarily. I think our sizes are very conducive to high performance and great progression with our students. We've also seen great benefits of having win time this year, having 2 different win times, one for language arts and one for math. And Mrs. Cooper again talked about collaboration between teachers. There has been a ton of collaboration between our teachers. It's not that there aren't other fifth grade teachers there to talk with me. We have a highly talented Title I teacher who has done an amazing job with data meetings and helping our win groups stay fluid and moving kids in and out. And I think that's what has created our high performance on iLearn checkpoints and things. iLearn scores aren't in now for another couple weeks in July, but there are really great things happening at Fillmore right now because of a very collaborative, tight-knit group. And it's not that our class sizes are much smaller. They're not. We have that one group. And when I taught that group of, they were 13 last year, when I looked at my roster when I came in, actually there were 2 or 3 students that were supposed to be on my roster that I had found they had actually moved to Central. So that shifting is always going to happen, or someone's going to move away, and you never know how many people are moving into your corporation, of course. But I think there are just a lot of factors to think about. But Fillmore is a high performing school, and I would really love for Fillmore to stay as a K-5 school, pre-K-5 school, and maintain that great momentum that they have going already with the win times and the data meetings and the very tight-knit collaborative group. It's a very successful school. And I don't want our community to lose that. I don't want our families to feel shortchanged and our children to take a dip in their performance. That would naturally happen for young children, as some of them are barely turning 8 years old before we put them on a bus and extend their transportation if they were to come to Central. And in addition to that, third grade is a very reading focused iRead year. And if they have not passed iRead as second graders, for whatever reason, they're going to need very specific intervention and very hands-on small group personal attention in order to get them to pass those iRead scores. If in the transition to going to Central, for whatever reason, that's traumatic for students who are already struggling and they don't pass it as a third grade, and then they're looking at fourth or fifth grade trying to pass that, that becomes a heavy burden for children and families and teachers too. So there are just a lot of things to, I'm always curriculum minded, student minded, performance minded before I worry about the money. And I know this is a money issue too. And I just hate to think that we're always putting a dollar sign on a child that's 7 or 8 years old, or a teacher who's been teaching 34 years, like myself, or a teacher who's just come in and is at the lower scale. So all those dollar signs floating around, to me, that's a side. It's curriculum, it's children, it's performance, and it's happiness for our families and whether they're going to stay or not. If we're talking about an enrollment problem and we're going to have families pulling their kids to homeschool or pulling their kids to go online through something else because we don't have a K-5 online school, I'm afraid we're going to have a kickback. We might be increasing enrollment at the middle school, high school with our virtual, and then we're losing at the elementary. I hope that doesn't happen. I seriously don't. But I've probably used my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's.
I think, Michael, did you want to?
I'm good.
Okay. Just checking.
Oh,
I'm just going to throw out a thought, and not that I'm trying to take a position on anything, but Mr. Roach kind of commented about what's the big goal of all this, and nobody really has said it yet. In what I think Dr. Smith was saying at the last meeting, in that it's trying to eliminate 3 teaching positions as a cost-saving maneuver. And I understand the need for more study. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do more study. I just want to make sure that we're clear in that, okay, we're going to take time to do another study. We hire all these people back, and then at Christmas time or next fall, now we're having to let teachers go that we just hired on because, oh, well, after we do the numbers and everything, we do need to do this, and then we're just eliminating those positions. Or is it one of those things where they make the decision of, okay, well, we'll save it the way it is, but now we're going to take Central down from 3 teachers for 5th grade and 4th grade, and now it's going to be 2, and we just up the class sizes again. So just
And I
not
thank you.
offering an opinion there, but just
Yeah.
kind of
Right,
Yeah.
because
Right.
that also kind of ties into that it is connected, right? Because like when you say 3 teachers are about, I don't know, 75% of what we transfer from the education fund to the operations fund.
And what how many, let's just say in a year, how many teachers do we typically lose, I'm sorry, at the on the elementary level? Do we have a rough number?
I don't know, this year was
This
really
year
rough.
was much higher
Crazy.
than
Get
it
rid of
was
this year,
last
looking back.
year. Gretchen, what do you
Well,
think? Maybe we had did we replace 2 last year, 2 or 3 maybe in at the elementary level? And one, did we have kindergarten 2 last year at Central?
Can't count the retirements. That's
Yeah, this year was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the highest
Yeah.
since I've been at the
But it's
corporation
usually a
office.
couple.
It's usually a couple.
Yeah, one or yeah, you're gonna have a couple, but this year was just kind of an anomaly.
So
Okay, so what we're saying then, and it brings up a good point, is how can we save, how can we, I don't know, how can we not hire 3 teachers? How can we save, I don't know how to phrase a question right now. But that's the problem, is being able to hire the minimum number of teachers that we know we're going to need, given the future of
Mhm.
financial conditions.
Is there a way to accomplish the same thing with only moving teachers and not moving students?
Probably, but again, that's another problem solving
Yeah.
session, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, there needs to be a lot more discussion, needs to be questions answered, I think, and a lot of people brought up a lot of questions and concerns, and I just don't think it's wise of us to try to throw it on a meeting agenda this month.
right, and it's not currently on the meeting agenda.
Right. Just making sure that
So it would only be if
I'm
one of us
expressing that if
thinks it should be, that we would add it on Wednesday.
But, the way the public heard, even though it's not on the agenda, everybody knows that things get added at the last minute.
Right.
Things like that. I want to be sure that there's no misunderstanding that, because they heard that we would be voting on it, and that was the comment that they've been going around. So.
I would like to say something, if that's okay. I'm Tiffany Hopple. This is my family. We go to Fillmore. I was the last class to go through 6th grade at Fillmore. I graduated here from South. My husband was the last class to go through Roseville before Roseville was closed down and graduated from South Putnam. I have to just say, from a community standpoint of Fillmore, there are a huge number of people that I saw faces in school that moved to Fillmore to have their kids go to Fillmore. Fillmore is very special to me in my heart and to my this was a hard thing to have a family discussion about, just so that you are with me. I'm talking about 2 Christmas programs at 2 different schools, pickups at different times, trying to figure out how to coordinate work. We own our own business, and, trying to figure out how to get this one to a doctor's appointment and this one to a doctor's appointment. It's gonna take me like an extra hour to collectively get my kid. And thinking about him, thinking about him in another year having to ride a bus and spend an hour to get back home, that's a concern. That's scary for me. The whole thought of this changing and happening like this over the summer is terrifying. I know know that a lot of parents don't know about it. I talked to a girlfriend today who, her daughter is in class with Jake, and she was like terrified. She was mortified when she found out. And I was like, I mean, big changes are going to happen, and they're meeting on it tonight. I'm going to be there. I know that we have to save money. I know that it's scary to think about having to hire so many teachers and then maybe making change next year, but a year to give parents some time and knowledge to know this is what's coming up would just be such a huge relief. And also, you know, my daughter didn't get to say goodbye to all of the teachers and staff at the school this year. She didn't get to know that she was going to be leaving and not coming back. Her brother's not going to be there for fifth grade graduation. She's not going to have fifth grade graduation at the school that she spent all this time at. I do know the relationships between the teachers, the staff, the students. I mean, people just love each other at Fillmore. I wouldn't have gotten my kids to where they are and found out about ADHD and ADD and gotten their scores up on their iReady for their math and their reading. I mean, both of my kids were struggling so hard in the beginning of the year. They maxed out the charts. Like they maxed it out. There was no higher number to go on their test. And I accredit that to their teachers. So I just wanted to share that because it's been a special place for us.
We thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Okay, well, at this point in time, I would like to thank everybody who's shared because I know that's really stressful. It's stressful for us, so you know. um, but just to be really super clear, no decision has been made, and we didn't jump on board the proposal last 2 weeks ago. Because we wanted to hear from our teachers. We wanted to hear from parents. And so I really appreciate those people who sent us an email. I appreciate all of you who came tonight to speak because it takes a village, right? As they say. And we do a better job as a board when we know when we hear from people. So I thank you. With that, we are going to move on to the problem of the administration building.
Been a problem?
If anyone would like to leave at this time,
Can I leave?
it's totally okay. But yeah, we are going to be discussing other options. Yeah, because we've come to a point in time when we really can't kick it down the road any further. We have employees who are working in unsafe conditions. And if it weren't for them, our students wouldn't be, just things wouldn't run. I mean, we need people working in safe environments. So we need to do something. And so I'd like to take the rest of this meeting time just to look at maybe other options. It's more of a brainstorming session. So if any of y'all like to brainstorm, now's your chance. I think what I'll do as we talk and stuff, I'll just start writing down ideas that maybe we can flesh out later. Again, we're not making any decisions, I don't think. There's nothing on this week's agenda about it other than everything else. So, okay. So, the one idea, and I'm going to write it down, is redesigning one of our schools to house, okay, let's put it this way, house administration offices in Central. Let's just put that out there. Or Fillmore or the high school. Okay, we've pretty much fleshed out.
Or the bus barn.
What? Oh, we're the bus barn. Anywhere else?
Possibility.
I mean, I think we should consider having to rent someplace.
Yeah.
Okay, a rental.
Portable.
I mean, Yeah, what was it cost?
Are we putting a new building on here on this list of brainstorming? Or
I mean, I think you have to put it on there.
yeah, we do.
Like,
I
Um,
mean, you
I
could.
mean, then-
We're spending $2,000 a month for what the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
Like, what can we?
everything
What,
runs as it should.
So if
Yeah.
you
so if you rented a place, what's that cost a month for temporary?
something to look like.
Right.
We need
that's
to look
a
at that.
good idea.
And you say affordable. I'm thinking a brick and mortar. If we had to, like, if we had to do that before we had something done, I mean, you can't stay where you are. It's
unless it's
So there was-
totally gutted and
there
redone.
was
Is that
700
even
and-
possible?
There was a $700 and some $1,000 quote to redo the.
gosh, can you imagine
To redo the.
asbestos?
It's all in there. It's
It's-
all, they all included all of it.
Okay, so
ADA,
we're adding that
parking.
to the list then to redo.
There was a list I saw on one of our.
I don't think you need to add that.
I mean, I think that's a last.
No, that's a
it's a
possibility.
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 We can
Brainstorming.
choose to decide.
$700,000. That would be a terrible idea. Like, I
I
don't
don't
even know
think
why you
I don't
would put it
think
on there.
anyone's disagreeing, but it's
Why
something
waste our time?
that was vetted.
It was it was in one of the emails, and
need
so
to
that was.
to say it's
We
good
could
or
at least
not.
sell the place and make some money
Okay,
back.
I'm going to give my little teacher spiel
Yeah.
here on how to brainstorm. During a brainstorming session, you are not to judge any ideas that anybody puts out.
Well,
no
that's
matter
really
how
hard.
crazy,
Can
no
we judge
how
the
Just
people
saying.
that are saying the
no, here,
ideas?
I didn't come
no,
up with the
yeah,
idea.
you can judge them all you
I'm
want.
just-
So I should give it to you.
I'm just saying what I would.
Judge
We
quietly?
all got the same email.
If I do this, I'm judging you quietly.
Yeah, we all got
Sorry.
the same email. I'm just going by what
But
email
now,
we got.
wait, let me finish. Not only do you not cut down people's ideas, but you also don't say, "Oh, that's a great idea," because that limits. Okay, so the goal is to get as many ideas out as we possibly can. Okay?
So
Perfect.
take
Alright.
emotion out of it.
Sorry, Mom.
And I am going to include the audience. So if you have an idea of what we can do about the administration office, you just
We
shout
won't
it
judge
out.
you.
We won't judge you.
Oh, look.
We won't say that's a terrible idea.
We don't have itself anyway.
Mhm.
Talking about 700K to redo that. I don't know what the details or the extent of that means, but how does that compare to replacement? Is it 5 million? Then that's not a bad investment.
No, we
Right,
looked at before. We looked at one. It was $223,000, and we said no. So
We're trying to be okay, so when we go back to judge the ideas, it will be financial viability, construction. I don't know, but that comes when we set the criteria for how we're going to make the
I mean,
decision.
2 million. It was 2 million.
2.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
2.2.
Yeah.
I'm like, what number are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. I was saying the same
How
thing.
much-
Sorry.
Maybe
Jill,
what's
do you have
the
an
plans
idea?
cost?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know that yet.
How much space does it need to utilize? Like how?
That would be a criteria by which we would judge the ideas that we are getting.
Don't you have your list of ideas now? Now we just got to figure cost of each.
Well, we've only got a few ideas. I thought we could get a few more.
Hint out front.
And out front. Thank you. I'm right.
Sorry here.
From home and they just come in conference room when they have meetings.
Thank you.
So
Work from home.
we're going to bring every new employee into there, or when we have confidential meetings.
Don't be judging.
I'm not judging. I'm not.
Well, clarification.
I'm asking.
There was a
You can't.
there was a concern of
These deal with
records
confidential
right.
situations.
when the records were concerned by having
They'd have to take them home.
accessibility to records like
To have accessibility to
that was a concern.
records, with not only with our audits that are every other year, but with the federal money, we have what they call a fiscal desk audit, which is a lot of fun. And
Okay, but again, that's so I wrote for that. I wrote down under the security under criteria by which we would judge the ideas. I have financial because that's more of what you're talking about. What did you say, Jill? I want to make sure I got it down.
Criteria was like actually how much space,
Oh, space needed.
understanding
One,
the
two, three, four,
confidentiality area
five
where
offices?
lots of things you need to handle.
Space needed. Okay.
5 offices.
3 secretaries be in the same room.
We can do that
But
later.
that's not,
But I mean,
we have,
like space.
Yes.
Right, yeah, that's
Criteria.
square feet, yeah, square, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know what the square footage is.
Does anyone have another idea, either for the criteria that you think the board should judge the ideas, or an idea for where we could relocate or, relocate? No, how we could solve the problem of a deteriorating admin building.
You have
Mike.
you have rental on there already?
Yeah.
Rent a space,
Yes,
like in
yes.
town or
I
something?
have one thought, it's not, maybe not as convenient as you would like, but the old Bethel church,
What?
the old Bethel church, they just built a new.
They still utilize that
They're
building.
using it for their office. That's it.
Okay, well, I'm writing that down. Thank you. Mike, did you have another one?
Yeah, so we heard earlier that bonds are used for improvements. Okay, so new facility is on the docket, one of the lists here.
Mhm.
But what to keep in mind is the new facility doesn't stop there. The bond pays for it, but if you jack operations up to
Right.
maintain it, then you do go into affecting operations and education at that.
Okay, so part of the criteria is
Utilities and operational
operations.
costs.
Yeah.
Which is, we have that now anyways.
Which is
It's
fair.
2,000 a month
As a
minimum. Right. So
Yeah,
that,
but when
that's,
when we
it
go
would
back,
actually probably be less because you have a more efficient building that you're moving into.
True. Yes.
Right.
So
Mr. Champion.
Maybe a better way to phrase what Mr. Katz was saying is, should we look into purchasing an already existing facility?
Thank you. That'll look
Yeah.
better on the list than old church.
this is voice.
I know in the hallway down here in the new pathway area wing from a few years back, a lot of offices are there for current coaches. Do all of the coaches need a separate office aside from their classroom? I know we need locker rooms and storage for equipment and things, but the actual office for those people, do they need an office separate from their classroom?
So that would,
Is there extra space there?
that would be a consideration to put under relocation, one of the relocation.
At the
pieces.
high
The
school.
only problem with that is storage of files.
I don't know. What
I mean,
the
but-
office
yeah,
is,
yeah.
But yeah, the answer is,
It's
yeah, we could look
space.
at that. We could look at that.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I have rehousing at Central, Fillmore, the high school, bus barn, rent a building, build a new building, redo the current building, tent out front, work from home, and purchase an existing building. Are there any other ideas for where we could put or relocate the admin building or the administrative offices, I should say?
Did you list that last comment about existing office space at the high school?
That comes, the high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
Yeah,
that consideration was for Fillmore and Central and this building and all
This area
of
we're
them.
sitting in right here. It's
Yeah.
pretty big space.
Jill,
I think this would be another criteria,
thank you.
but, it being, because you were talking about centrally located, like the location of it, that
You need a separate.
easy to find,
Okay.
and if you Google it, they don't send you to a cornfield or.
I think a separate
location.
entrance also has to be considered.
I do think that was a concern as well.
Right.
You could probably put a door right there.
Okay.
So I have
You have to have a separate entrance.
that is one of the concerns from someone who sent me personally an email was
Yeah.
a separate entrance and
But
security.
that
and
would
those
be
sorts of things.
security.
That's
Yeah.
criteria.
So we have that.
Yeah.
That's in criteria.
And storage, do we have storage?
It's in criteria as well.
Which I know we're going digital, but you still have paper files.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we have to access historical documents.
Yeah.
You know, it's the manpower and the money it would take if we were to scan in all of those. I mean, even if I stopped doing any paper stuff right now, I mean, just all of those historical things. And the board documents are forever documents. We can't get rid of any board minutes, anything going back to, you know, the history of the corporation. You know, those have to come with us.
Right.
I'm currently going through like late 2000, like 2006, 2008, like for something I'm looking for, and it's like I need to be able to go down there and look at it, like pull those boxes out, sit on the floor, look through them because there's and just all kinds of contracts and stuff. We get Freedom like of Information Act requests of stuff that we house that we have to keep, and then we have to provide when people ask for it if they ask the right way or for the right things. But and like like over the summer, like I'm doing like education verification for people, like, and Harmony only goes back so far. So like we have physical graduate records for people who graduated before Harmony, and like we have to be able to pull those and see when they graduated and their transcripts and their like there's just.
So is there anything that you girls use that can be stored off or at a distance?
What's the furthest you could store your documents from you, either on location or off location? If it was, you know what I mean?
I mean, some of the things that have already been audited might be able to be stored at a remote location. And then, I mean, that could happen for at least for, I'm only speaking for financial records. But then I'll have to access them with if the auditors ask, because they can ask outside of the audit period if anything is relating to federal money.
Okay, I'm going to add accessible
security of offsite documents would also be harder.
Security of storage, not just security of employees, security of guests. Security of those in the building where they will be. So if you have guests coming in and there's other business going on in the whatever the building that's holding the office, there has to be reciprocal security considerations.
Right. So that's another criteria then, is accessible storage. Adequate, and accessible storage.
Okay. Dedicated restroom.
Oh. A dedicated restroom? It has to be a dedicated restroom?
So if you have a guest and a guest comes in and, you know, let's say it's at a school building and the guest needs to use the restroom, or you're having, you know, meeting new employees or, you know, something like that. You have people that use the restroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
And by the way, you mentioned going to the basement, sitting on the floor, sorting through boxes.
I did bring one upstairs, but I sat on the floor for a little while.
We have no option. I mean,
they can breathe anymore.
Like what she's dealing with, we have to do that to do it.
They're heavy boxes. Just get them up.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Joe.
You were talking or whatever. I don't know what, because we're talking about all these files and like it has to go back way there and the beginning. Would there be some way, not necessarily on the current staff or whatever, but some way then just get that all digitized?
Where's the money gonna come from?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
that's the thing. That's the issue, because so that's absolutely well, that's absolutely going to be an operational expense, and the operations fund is what we are.
Right, but you might need a smaller area or a smaller building to build.
And that, you know, there are companies out there. Yeah, there are companies out there, but it's
a lot of it's
pricey.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Ours are cheap. 700, or two. I have no idea. I'm just thinking, would the cost? Would there be a cost?
It's a good question.
It is.
Good question.
Yeah.
And then you could have access to it anyway.
Go for me.
Digitizing.
Some things that can digitize.
Over.
Working on that, right?
Right, it's the historical document.
Right. Yeah,
that
there's
is
some things
the-
that can't, and there's some things that
Right,
like,
and
yeah.
some things, that we do have critical documents that we have to have a.
Yeah.
So back to the restroom.
Needed
That
for current files and things like where your office is. I've never really been in your office, so how much space do you have? Are you pretty crowded? Do you have plenty of room for your files, or is there a separate file room?
We have a lot of our long-term storage in the basement. We do have all of the student records upstairs because we are in,
So the space that's being utilized in the basement is probably pretty decent space.
It-
I mean, I'm just looking at this room we're sitting in right now, and there's a private office right here, and this room extends far, and I may be misspeaking, but I think this room is primarily used for study halls or overflow. Teacher is absent and there's no sub, and students get pushed in here. Or sometimes AP classes will utilize the space on this side. It just makes more sense to me. Older students would be easier to move to spaces than younger children who may be more traumatized by it. I know there's a lot of books and things in here too, but when we're looking at all spaces, this looks like a pretty large space, but I don't know about this area in here, how big, And when you talk about security and confidentiality and things, I'm not sure in an elementary building with children ages 3 to 7 or 8, with visitors coming in, we're already a little bit bristled when we see people walking around the building. If they don't have their sticker name tag on, teachers are immediately calling the office to make sure that those people have been vetted. And we know they probably have, but I can see in a primary early learning situation, or again with Old National Trail life skills, any kind of new faces or disruption can be very traumatizing to young children. So I'd like you to take that into account when you think about going into another building or another space, the occupants that are already there. If that makes sense.
Thanks for bringing that
Thank
up.
you.
And that's definitely been one of, in between board members individually, that's kind of been a topic. And I think I've heard other people say things about that, and I've expressed it back, like, yeah, these are
And
things.
they're probably all good people. It's just that
Yeah.
they're strangers.
Yeah. Until they're vetted, they're strangers. But regarding this room and other spaces within the buildings, we've been kind of looking at that as well and seeing what spaces could be utilized that are non-educational spaces currently. Closets and offices and
We have teachers kind of
a 500 square foot office with one
It's on the
person in it,
list.
and things like that.
You got 14,
pragmatic about
36 or 40 or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that would
Had something.
oh, do it.
I was just
Sorry, I couldn't see you.
that in Greencastle at Ridpath, there was a time that they closed Miller. They did take over part of Ridpath. So we, as a teacher, and it's been done before.
So yeah. So I think we're gonna call it a night.
I agree.
Well, you don't want to go for another hour or two?
I do not.
The sun's still out.
I to speak up, I feel like,
Yes.
and I think everybody's in different positions and things like that, and South Putnam's amazing. We started from the parent side next year with like a kindergartner, and like we are jazzed to be on the parent side, and I'm a teacher at Central. I do really love, and I emailed that like this perspective does consider Central for like the first time since I've been here in like lots of years, that like we want those student class sizes to be like, if you're a third grade South Putnam student, you've got the same experience no matter where you go and things like that. And so I think that's really awesome. I think it also considers that like K2 students should be in those smaller class sizes, and 3 through 5, like we probably can absorb and get us all together and balance us out and things like that. And so like, I think there is a lot of good to come from it. And I know Joe brought up that he's like, we don't want to take the easy way, just if it's easy to say like, move them over. But I would pose the opposite of like, it might be a natural solution that like checks lots of boxes. It doesn't mean it's ideal. I'd love for us to
add teachers at Fillmore and Central and have like the tiniest classes ever, but like that is not education in Indiana right now. I'd also like to have my job in future years. I'd like to hire people in the future that we have their job in future years. And so I think that like the emotions get high, but I think like the logistics, like we have some good options, even if it means that like it's some rocky months and years and whatever, but I just think there's a good South Putnam experience, and I think this brings that South Putnam experience to both elementaries across the district. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've gotten the list of ideas. We haven't crossed any off. I have specific criteria that you all have helped come up with. I'll read through that again and make sure I got everything. Financial, these are things by which we would help decide those, which is the most viable option. Financial, security, the space needed for the administrative offices, operational cost, location, adequate and accessible to the documents, adequate storage and accessible to the documents needed for just daily operations, and then a dedicated, and I'm assuming secure restroom. So in other words, it couldn't be used by students. Because like if Lindsay's checking somebody in for their, whatever what she does, and they have to use the restroom while she's doing that, we wouldn't want them out roaming the halls, right? So it would have to have some place, or or even if it's in an elementary school, that's still important, right? So we couldn't so we need to add a bathroom probably or something if we can't configure the loss of another
There's not
one or
already one
something.
there.
I think
Right.
we would need a secure,
So-
secure location that is separated from the school. I mean, even if we're within the school, I mean, it would need in my opinion,
A
I think it would need a dedicated entrance. It would need to be contained.
Yeah.
Because,
so would that be
or we're going to
attainable?
be running, I
Yeah.
mean, or we're going to be running background checks on anybody that that comes in. We have vendors come in. We've had vendors come in
Right.
mad. We've had people come in mad. I don't think.
So would you agree that that would come under security?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just wrote down contained.
And the thing we didn't really touch on was the impact to the learning spaces and students, because that was one thing that talking about, let's say, doing something in here. Well, then we would have to find, this is being utilized for educational space. We would have to find another space to do that. So, minimize that impact of student space.
Okay, so the next job for all of us to do, well, if we judge, we can either at some point in time, but not tonight, cross ideas off, and then we would just choose 2 or 3 or even 5, I wouldn't do more than 5, that we think might work. Then we set that up on a grid and we use criteria for each of us to judge that idea, like we did a few years ago with the bond money things,
And that actually, I think that.
And it kind of gives a more objective way of coming up with, and then we can always change our mind at the end, right? But so in order to do that though, we really need to gather information on what it would look like and possibly what it would cost, which is going to be, it's going to be kind of time consuming. I'm happy to work with Dr. Smith on it. Maybe Lee, you would help me or help us kind of, since it's kind of under the construction kind of thing, and we can, we can maybe, have another work session. Some of it might be able to be done at the board retreat this summer.
And we can, we can talk about it amongst ourselves as long as there's not 3 of us in the conversation. So.
Right.
So that's something else that.
And we're still very open to collecting ideas and thoughts and concerns from everybody else, because the more information, the better at this point. So if you have an idea that we didn't write down, yeah, shoot it our way. And you can do that by by going to the school website, and underneath somewhere, if you look there, there's just one tab for the school board, and it goes to, when you click on that, it'll email to all of us. And we prefer that you do that if that's, yeah, because then we all hear it, or see it or read it. And then because I'm president, I will be the one to respond. So it's not like anybody else doesn't want to respond to you. We all appreciate emails from people. It's just the way we have it set up. So
I won't do that again.
yeah.
I've already learned my lesson there.
Okay. If there's nothing else, if anybody has any burning comments or question, now's your chance. We'll adjourn. Oh, well, I didn't ask Dr. Smith. Did you have anything you'd like to,
Is he still there?
to add?
Yeah, I am still here. Yes, yeah. I appreciate everyone's conversation tonight, and I did again. Yeah, the patients, the information, and to some of the problems we talked about tonight. So, love the conversation, and
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, now we're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. We didn't even get into the actual construction.